Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to talk about basic modeling. So I will review some of my experience in the past, how to model and forecast environmental pollution and ecological impact that we are expecting from this pollution using basic models and what we need if we want to use the basic modeling. So I made a title of modeling UV filter pollutions. There are some common scenario in research. You can go with variety of scenarios because scenario depends on your variable you define. Each small variable can define a new scenario, and new innovations, a new knowledge, a new gap of knowledge. It depends how you define scenario, how you convince your audience. That's like a compelling scenario. My first paper that I published, it was UV filter interaction in the chlorinated swimming pool. This was the first paper I published based on very basic models that we will discuss how this model looked in this publication and two more publications. So what I added here, a new challenge for urbanization and need for community scale investigation to make my case more compelling and more justice, to be more justifiable for audience or for reviewer. At first, I communicated with editor-in-chief because this was like a short paper and I didn't have enough data. It was just a basic modeling. They like it. They said, "Oh, this is novel. They have never published such thing, and I can publish it as a case report." I wrote this one from A to Z. So far, this was my first official publication in peer-reviewed journal. I published in 2016, and so far has 32 citations. And another paper, similar work, then I changed the direction. Uh, in first one, I changed. I focused on chlorinated swimming pool. In the second one, I changed the direction to environmental trap in Gulf of Mexico. The same concept I applied in a small swimming pool that children were there. I make it in a bigger scale in the coastline of Gulf of Mexico. I found out different uh, zoning area of the coastal line and the population, tourist population, and based on those tourist population, I came up with a solution. So, oh, this is good thing to do, and see how much it would be released. The third paper, again, if I want you guys to read these three articles that I highlighted in this presentation and see what is really common and what I did in this three paper. This is another paper, similar approach, but different topic. So alarming impacts of organic organic and inorganic UV blockers. This is the same thing, environmental pollution. So what I changed in my scenario, so the area is different. I added organic versus inorganic because I work with UV filters. If you don't know what is UV filter, they are the sunscreen. When you go to the ocean, to the sea, you apply a lot of sunscreen, and every time get washed off from your body and goes to the ocean and cause a lot of problem in sensitive area to coral reef. They can cause coral bleach. There were few paper on coral bleaching using UV focus. So we have organic UV filter and inorganic UV filter like the zinc oxide nanoparticle, titanium oxide nanoparticle, or cerium oxide nanoparticle that shield the UV of the sun first. So what I focus here, Persian Gulf, coral reef in Persian Gulf, because then it's not much information data. So this is the alarming thing. And also, for example, Dubai has so many tourists. There is not really a screening or monitoring of the coral reef. That's why it's the case. I make my scenario stronger to publish it. So this was a third paper I published using the basic model Uh, that was the stuff. Another idea that I had, I wrote a paper. I didn't publish it. I wrote it. I didn't publish it. I was thinking that's too much. Paper, similar thing, nobody will like it eventually. And they say, oh, this guy is publishing this type of paper. So I stopped it. So no, this is enough. I have to do something else. I don't want to do this things. Even if I was working even on this one, this was novel, maybe I could publish it. Eventually I would be able to publish it, but I stopped it because I didn't want to work on mud. It's like a spa mud. uh, I did a lot of research and see what product they do. The similar thing I did with chlorinated swimming pool. I did with more properties of how the UV filter can absorb to the mouth and the skin wash up can do more. I added more cosmetic in my scenario. But I stopped. So no, this is not a good thing to go. And I stopped this in this book. So all of them, they shared the same questions on how much sunscreen would be released from the human, goes to the water and goes to the environment. So all three studies I estimated that UV filter release from the humans, some of them from the children, women, men. So each one has a different body uh, area, volume to surface to uh, mass area. For children different, for men and women are different. And I scaled up from the pools to reef, their impact on the coral reef and also on the coastal zone, how they can be impacting the coastal zone or maybe attaching to the soil using different factor. And I also assess the health issues and ecological risk for this ones. But so if you read this three paper, you will come with the conclusion what I really need to make this type of modeling. So for all the modeling, we need the main thing that's assumption. So for if you look at the equation, you see there are several assumptions. So what is the assumption? They are simplified conditions we adopt to make complex real-world system easier to model and analyze it. Like UV filter release from the body is very complicated. A lot of factors will be involved. Temperature, time, many things. But I made it very easy. Like it's a linear equation. They provide the starting value for your calculations based on different assumptions that you see. Their assumption will come mainly from literature review, or you can just come up with a number that you think that would be appropriate, but you have to justify this number is valid because of this, because of that. And you can make your scenario or assumption. Uh, Based on, for example, different type of scenario that you will develop. You can have it like a worst case scenario, in this case, having the highest concentration, moderate scenarios, uh, or best case scenario. I also thought, for example, for this one, with Dr. Hayhoe, that she's a climate scientist. I said, okay, I want to publish paper related to climate change because I'm proposing as as the weather gets hotter, people applying more sunscreen. But she was disagreeing. She said, no, this is against my other papers because I was saying that uh, climate change causes acidification of the ocean and less people go to the beach. So it was two conflicting idea. So I didn't work with her. Otherwise, maybe I would have done paper with Dr. Hayhoe because I came up with this scenario. So eventually, I made a different scenario. So the assumption they reduce uncertainty and make the model workable. Even so, they do not capture every detail of the reality, but it's just a simplified version because we just assume something. We also assume, okay, this does not include this does not include, but these are just assumptions for your predictions. For example, here I have average sunscreen application rate for 2 milligram. a square centimeter of human. This can be different for children, for men, for women. Maybe in Africa it's different. Maybe in Asia it's different. Maybe African American skins are different from Hispanic skins. So maybe you can come up with different scenario. Percentage of body coverage, somebody put 100%, somebody put 87%, 55%. Why I put 87% is that available literature that they have published. Wash-off rate fraction, you can come up with any fraction. It depends on different type of sunscreen. You can say, okay, this the composition of this sunscreen that's written on the back of each screen is zero point 0.2, 0.5 of milligram per liter of this or that, different compounds. So we can come up with wash-off fraction from a skin. So this can be different. Depends on what you choose, and nobody will complain, but this is just assumption. Then average surface area of adult to child of different, so you can come up with different scenario. This all depends how you define your scenario, and you can apply the models. So models they can be developed experimentally or mathematically. So this model that I used, it was actually the origin was based on one of the papers that I don't remember what paper. I adopted this model. So applied model are mathematical tools. So this the one that I use for that last three papers, very basic three numerical model that translates human activity like the sunscreen use into measurable environmental outcome, which in this case I consider water pollution, soil pollution, impact on the marine. Another paper I published, this was a more complex model. I couldn't really apply that one. I with less experience in type of modeling. I saw. I had a course that time. It was on pressure retarded osmosis and membrane development. I came with this idea. I was searching. I saw one paper they published on this model, and one guy was Hemlich, that he's my co-author. Henry published adopted model. He adopted model. He added something to one another model, and he made a paper. I contacted him. So I have this idea. We can publish this paper. I did work in Urmia Lake. I have data from Urmia Lake. So I found that data from all the rivers, freshwater rivers that comes to Urmia Lake. It was one of the largest, maybe largest hyper-saline lake in the world. Now it's dried out, unfortunately, because of all issues we have in Iran. So it was a complex model. I just provided all raw data from the different literature. Mainly, I translated from Farsi literature to English. So this is the concentration of data material with some assumption. So he came up with some prediction of energy production from hypersaline lake. That time, this paper was posted in Taylor and Francis, but now it's in Elsevier. I believe they sold it or they transferred to Elsevier. But however, this paper did not get enough citation compared to the other papers. That one of them was 32 citation, one of them 58 citation. So you look what you are doing, what is the target, what is more important, what will you get more audience. For example, the one for Texas got the maximum citations of the 58 because I was sure that would get more attention and there was not much data. Nobody has worked and many people are working on environmental issues. Texas, they can cite this paper as a complex model. So the core equation I use in this free paper, it's just a very linear equation. You can see all the factors, they are multiplying by each other. Seems to be funny, but it eventually it works. So to calculate the average content of UV filter in a product, so you just need the sunscreen that applies in milligram per square centimeter. This can change based on what you are assuming, the number. Application frequency, how many times you are applying per day. Like one time, two times, 1.5 times. This also can change body surface area. This is almost known for a human body. You can find in the literature for men, children, and women. They are different. And how much percentage of body is covered. You can also play with this number, say, oh, 85%, 90%, worst case scenario, best case scenario. So that's based on different scenario that you define, you can change with this number. And you can see how much per person would be released. You can estimate that. You can add the same thing like because this equation was too long. I made it two different terms. The first term was CJ release. Then I multiplied this one to this theta. That's a wash-off rate that can be also changed based on hydrophobicity or hydrophilicity of component of the sunscreen and number of swimmer or tourists that can be in that area or location. That would be different. So you can you the best thing that I did it was just to divide this equation in two different parts. It gives a better look, better appealing to when you implement or apply it in your paper. But it's the same thing. Either you multiply all of them together or you do some innovation in your way of writing and make it into different components. You can come up with other factors if you want. Just think about it, what factor you can come up with that. So this is the population base. For example, if you are working in unknown lake or river or beach, you can come up with another different scenario, the population that they are allowed, that they are not allowed, population of swimmer, population of beachgoer, things different scenario. You can make a different scenario. We can think about it. And for example, the first one that I published, it was based on swimming pool. I assume more people, more children going to the a small swimming pool. When they have a small swimming pool, the concentration would be higher compared to the, for example, to normal pool, because this is like a plastic swimming pool portable and inside each home that every time maybe three, four kids they can go. So I think that in this case I had some of the worst case scenario. I assume a small volume of the lake. And what I did in this paper, I came up with another argument that this UV filter can make interaction with chlorine, and they can produce disinfection byproduct that's a toxic uh, chemicals for humans and for children. That would be the worst. And so here, I based on the age of 2 to 11, like the children and adults, body surface area, I came up with this different release of different UV filters. Like these are organic compounds inside the cream, sunscreens. So each one has different hydrophobicity, hydrophilicity, or wash-off rate. I don't remember exactly what factor I considered, but these are all from. This was actually no, I don't know. This was based on a milligram of each component that was applied in a sunscreen. Like if 0.5% was EHMC or 0.3% was OC. Based on the compositions of each sunscreen in the cream, I came up with the solution and some data to present for this paper. The second paper was a coral reef. I was really concerned about the coral reef in Kish Island in south of Iran because there's not really proper monitoring in that area. I contacted Ecological Research Institute of Persian Gulf in Bandarabad in south of Iran. They didn't give me proper data. They sent me some data. I didn't like the data. I said, well, this data does not look correct. However, they provided me some also images. Which later on, when I published this paper, I included their image. And maybe some of that data I reported and I said that just this data was from this institute or just the images I wrote that. Then I highlighted the bleaching work. The same thing that I reported in the previous paper, the same approach I applied in this one. I said, okay, how much they would be released. What I did is said, okay, I compared to the bleaching rate in winter time versus summertime. And the winter time we get more tourists And the data was of bleaching was more reported in winter compared to summer. Then I correlate that one to number of the tourists that they are using more sunscreen and the more bleaching will take place in Fish Island. That was another innovation I did in this case. Uh, for the last scenario that published for in Texas zone area, I look at the map, the coastal zone, and I found the population of each visitor that they go to the coastal area. Here, I divided based on age group. So each age group they have different different volume, different surface area of the body. So based on that, I came up with different numbers and different release in milligram per square meter of the body, per square meter of the beach. So per square meter of the beach, how much would be released from face, trunk, arms, hands, legs. So in each paper, I came up with different factors or different parameter that was not discussed in other papers. But all of them, they come with the base equation that I applied in three studies. Three studies, I put the same equation. So the case studies that I discussed, the swimming pool I published in 2016 was my first paper. I the papers that are concerning regarding children health are very important. So I focus on children health, my case is stronger, and it was published as a case report. When you publish something as case report that has not been published before, something new, and it can call the attention of many scientists or activists, or many other people. You get to write a proposal, I go for an action from that. And I added the chlorine interaction and productions of disinfection byproduct as a toxic element. And the other one it was a coral reef. So the bleaching is very important. We are losing a lot of coral every year in different parts of the world. So I came up with the solution how the tourists in Fish Island and also in the Middle East they can cause the bleaching of the corals. And the other one also was published in 2016. It was a Texas coastline. I saw that how many coastal zone area we have, how many tourists they are going based on that to predict the potential risk that we are expecting. So in each case, in the pool, I highlighted toxic disinfection byproducts for the risk of the bleaching within 48 to 96 hours. And for the coastal line, I highlighted bioaccumulation in fish and risk on food chain. So I will give you a task to develop similar. You have to read this three article and see how I develop them, what factor I use. You can choose any site. It can be pool, beach, lake, estuary area, or any sensitive area that you can use. Use this equation to estimate UV filter contamination, how much sunscreen they will apply. If you want to choose one area, you have to see what is your case. Is this a good area or not good area? Not how do you define a good area? You have to see how much is the chance for publishing, how sensitive it is. Uh, how many paper have been published on that? Is it new or it's not new? Do you have a chance to publish or do you have a chance to give attention of other people? How important is this area? Or how you can bring up this as a highlight of case study and say, oh, this is the alarming case that you have to consider. And you can scale it up to to community or seasonal level or many other things. Things depending to you and your case area, and maybe a specific festival that's happening in that season, many other things. And related to ecological risk, what type of risk you are expecting, uh, or human health. So you have to connect your assumption to different scenarios. We can always make a worst case scenario, another case scenario, best case scenario, and to do this. Uh, so I will give you a task. These are just for learning. You can choose any of these that I have provided for your urban splash pad network in Phoenix, Arizona, tourist lagoon in Cancun, Mexico. Any of the tourist lagoon you can choose all data available for them. How many tourists they go, how many stays there, how long they average staying, how average time they will stay there. There's a resort pool system in Dubai, high altitude alpine lake, artificial wave pool, ecotourism island, and many more that you may have it in your country and nobody knows. You can work on them as a case study. So this is a very basic thing, basic approach to develop a modeling on environmental reviews and predictions of environmental pollution and ecological risk. So we know different ecosystems, we use the same mathematical approach. You can even add some other component to this mathematical approach. Maybe you can divide it by time, or maybe any other components, other factors, safety factor, whatever factor. You have to think about it and develop it and adopt it. And like, oh, this is equation of uh, Sharifan, Mahdi, blah, blah, blah. Uh, so the equation that bridges human behavior to environmental risk. You can see what is the environmental risk, what factor you can bring to environmental risk, how you can characterize the environmental risk in different categories, worst case scenario, best case scenario. So categorizing your data, it will help you to have more data, more appealing paper, uh, more systematic approach. And always find a new location that they have not been studied, but it brings importance to environmental scientists, engineer, activists, economists, and different things. And so I will upload these three papers. You can read them and see what approach I used to publish this for two papers. That time I was master's student at the time, almost master's student. So that's it. Thank you.